Hi everyone, and welcome to our third video on radio ads. In this video, we'll build on what we've explored about advertising in general and focus in on scripting radio ads in particular. Before we go any further, I'd like you to ponder a couple of questions. How does the context radio ads happen in differ from the context for other modes of advertising? And related to that, what specific characteristics do radio ads need to have? Pause the video here, write a few notes on these questions, and then see if what you wrote chimes with what I say in the next part of the video. So, how did you get on? In radio ads, you only have the oral channel to work with. Your listener is, well, listening. Radio advertising can't use images, so your words have a lot more work to do. We also need to think about the level of attentiveness of the listeners listening. Your listener will likely be doing something else whilst listening to the radio ad. Think about when and where you listen to the radio. Maybe when you're driving, or working, or doing a bit of a tidy up of your house, or even when chatting to family or friends with the radio simply on in the background. So not only do your words need to do the work that both words and images would do in some other modes, they also need to be strong enough to push through the listener's divided attention. You will find that many of the themes, structures and uses of language are the same across modes. Indeed, many of them are the same across genres, so remember to bear in mind all the general strategies you've learned for persuasive writing, and build radio-specific strategies on top of those. You will notice too, though, that the language is often bigger, more dramatic, and often a good bit cheesier than it is in other modes. In other words, it's ramped up a bit in order to meet the needs of the radio listening context. For example, it's a good idea to use more repetition than you would in other persuasive genres in order to allow for less focus from your listener. You can also make good use of sound effects to add texture and complexity to your context and to help reinforce what the words are doing. You will also notice a lot of use of more extreme varieties of accents and dialects in order to attract attention and sometimes for comedic effect, rightly or wrongly. Register, too, varies a lot in radio ads. You will come across some very informal and occasionally very formal registers. This is all to do with maintaining a listener's attention when it's divided between your ad and something else. Finally, there's a lot of variation in radio ad content and style. So it's impossible to advise here on a one-size-fits-all. Which is great really, because it means you can be very creative. Role borrowing is a really big thing in radio advertising. You will find everything from straightforward radio ads with a jingle and a bit of persuasive text to ads that provide a snapshot from a completely different context. A slice of everyday life, a specific activity context, or a professional context. Andy Maslin provides us with some very useful precise do's and don'ts of copywriting for adverts. You're well aware of these already because you've done the initial prep reading from Maslin's book, right? Maslin tells us to use short punchy words, not long ones, use you, not I or we, use verbs, not nouns, and be positive, not negative. This is a really useful way to get your head round advertising copywriting quickly. But it's important to remember that these are tendencies rather than absolutes. It's about weighting your writing towards one rather than the other, not avoiding one of the two completely. For example, you might mostly use short punchy words but use a longer one for comedic effect. You can't have a sentence just full of verbs, but what Maslin means is keep it active by having more verbs than nouns. And in the case of a charity ad, there are times when it is useful or even important to be negative, to highlight the horrendous conditions people are living in a certain context, for example. Of course, you'll likely then turn the ad around at the end to be positive by focusing on how the supporter of the charity can help change things. Maslin also advises us to put the best word at the end. You will notice this a lot with taglines, for example, Tesco, every little helps, Sainsbury's, live well for less, and Asda, save money, live better. You've probably spent your education thus far being told that you must not start a sentence with and or but. Well, when you're copywriting, that goes out the window, for many genres, especially advertising. It is actually a very good thing to start sentences with and but in adverts, because it keeps them shorter and therefore punchier. Just remember to use the right approach in each context, and don't starting sentences with and but left, right and centre in your academic essays. Finally, Maslin provides us with a very useful checklist of what he calls magic words. These are words that make what you're trying to persuade the listener to do sound more attractive to and attainable for them. The magic words are easy, quick, free, now, please and guarantee. Now let's think about formatting issues for radio ads. Whilst radio ads are an extremely diverse genre in terms of their content and style, as we've explored above, there are aspects of them that need to be very tightly adhered to. In that sense, they are not unlike press releases. There are specific timings and specific scripting layouts that you need to stick to. Timings of radio ads tend to be 15, 30 or 60 seconds. For this module, you will write 30 and 60-second ads. It is often the case that 60-second full ads are edited or slightly amended strategically into 30 or 15-second ones. The easiest way to share the norms of radio ad script layout with you is simply to show you. Why not pause the video here and take a screenshot or photo of this layout? As with all the other genres we've explored on this module, probably the best tip for improving your writing of radio ads is to listen to as many as you can. And don't just listen to them. Try to identify in them the various strategies and patterns we have explored in all 3 of these videos. In a document below this video, I've provided you with links to a few radio ads that I think are done particularly well. Furthermore, they are a diverse set that demonstrate well the wide range of strategies you can employ and the wide range of roles you can borrow intertextually when writing radio ads. Don't forget the work we did on industry standards way back near the beginning of the module. Why not have a look back at the video that contains some content about the Advertising Standards Authority, or look back on your notes about that before you start writing your radio ad, to ensure you're not crossing any lines of appropriate claims and representations. Just before I end this final video, let's consider some more advice from Maslin. He shares this advice in his book about advertising copywriting, but it's useful advice for writing in many genres. Again, why not pause the video and take a screenshot or a photo of this list? Well, that's us coming to the end of the final key content video of the module. I do hope you've enjoyed my approach to structuring and presenting this video content, and the ways in which I've interspersed it with the other content and work on the module. I'd love to hear your feedback on all of that. So for one last time, I'll say, happy writing.